Hey, what's up, guys? We're back as we are covering the year 2023 in the world of Canadian mixed martial arts with our year-end list, our Canadian MMA awards for the year. And today we're looking at the comeback fighter of the year, which can be one of two things. Could be that you were out for a while and you came back to action, or it could be that you were on a slump, you were on a bad streak, and you were able to turn it around and get a win after a long losing streak. So it's either or. We're looking at the 10 comeback fighters of the year, but we've got some honorable mentions as usual, and they are as follows: Isaac Blais, Radley Da Silva, Gio Platon, Austin Batra, and Julius Trimmeliti. At number 10, we've got the Pirate Pierre-Olivier Bouffard, which had fought for the last time in 2019 at the last TKO show, TKO 48 in Gatineau. He had lost to Isaac Blais, which is also on the list, as it was both their last fights. But P.O. Bouffard really came in with an amazing performance at Samurai MMA 8 against Samuel Giguère after more than 4 years on the shelf. Showed us that he hadn't missed a beat, basically. So great comeback for him. P.O. Bouffard gets my number 10. At number 9, we've got another ex-TKO fighter who had waited a while before making his return. It is Simon Lagarde, which had fought for the last time on TKO 47 in Montreal in April of 2019. He was really chomping at the bit for a return, was able to make it this year in March against Gordon Cunningham. Unfortunately for him, lost that fight by very quick TKO, 30 seconds only, was finished by Cunningham, but then went on to put on 2 more performances this year for a total of 3 fights, and he won his other 2 fights against Amar Nessar and Kevin Généreux, both first round knockout finishes. So yes, he came back after a long layoff and had a very successful year with a record of 2-1, and that's why he gets my number 9, Simon Lagarde. At number 8, we've got Achilles Estremadura, who was last seen on the Contender Series in November of 2021 against Maeshate, a fight where he won the first round but kind of lost his energy in that fight and really got dominated for the 2 last rounds. Fortunately for him, lost that fight, did not get the UFC contract, and then kind of disappeared. For a little while, we had no news, we had no idea what was happening with Achilles, who was still the BFL lightweight champion at that point. And then Xavier Nash fought Navid, and then it was for the interim belt. But then after, Xavier Nash got promoted to the actual lightweight champion of the promotion, so it put even more doubt on what was Achilles doing, when was Achilles coming back. And we had that answer this year at BFL 77 in June, where he came back against Xavier Nash and won a split decision to reclaim his title, get back in the win column, and still prove us that he's one of the finest prospects we have in Canada. Achilles Estremadura gets my number 8. At number 7, we've got the Ghost, Christian Tremayne, who started his pro career with a record of 3-1, looking like a fighter with lots of potential and everything, and then went on a losing streak, lost to Dylan Schellenberg, then Adam De Freitas, then Craig Shintani, all in the span of 2021 and 2022, and he came into this year with a record of 3-4, which was not good for Christian Tremayne, a fighter that we know is a good fighter. He was able to bounce back in his first fight this year, which was later in the year. He was supposed to fight Jonathan Broad earlier in the year, but turns out that he wasn't able to get no fight until the very end of September, where he defeated Colton Box at Branded Fighting Championships by first round triangle to even his record out. But then came the highlight of his year. In November, he went in enemy territory at Fight League Atlantic 12 and defeated Cam Nelson, which was on a roll, which was like on the short list for Rookie of the Year, for Prospect of the Year, for like debuting Fighter of the Year. And Christian Tremayne just took all of that momentum and put it to rest with a dominant performance where, yes, it was a split decision, but I don't really know why, because at the end of that fight, by the body language and the way that the 2 last rounds went, it was really clear who had won that fight and who had lost that fight. So Christian Tremayne coming into this year on a 3-fight losing streak, waiting almost the whole year to be able to get a fight in, but when he got fights in, he won both of them, is now back over 500 with his record, and we're looking forward to to what he's gonna do in 2024. At number 6, Papa Ju, Julien Leblanc. What a return to action for Julien Leblanc, because yes, he had been out for a while since 2021 when he fought Joel Bowman at the LFA 104, but like before that he hadn't fought since 2018. So between 2018 and 2023 he was able to get one fight in for LFA against Joel Bowman, a fight that he lost by unanimous decision, and was now on a 2-fight losing streak, which was not like something that we planned for when Julien Leblanc started his pro career, that he was going to be on some losing streaks at a point. But he came back to action for the first time in a long time, and in one of the most pressure situations that you're ever going to get, because he was the main event of Samurai MMA 6 in Gatineau, his hometown. He had sold pretty much half the tickets for the whole event. The other half was Alain Majoric. And yeah, not only he won that fight and snapped his losing streak, but it was a return to action for the first time in more than 2 years, and for like the second time in almost 5 years, and then went on to fight for Unified in the main event against Chris Chapman and won his second fight of the year. So started 2023 not having fought in a long while and on a 2-fight losing streak, and he ends this year with a 2-0 record and now a 2-fight winning streak, total 7-2 in his career, and he's now well positioned as one of the best middleweights in the country. So great return to action for Julien Leblanc, who gets my number 6 comeback of the year for 2023. At number 5, allow me to do a joint entry here, as we've got the Crosswell brothers. Listen, it's no diss on the Crosswell bros, but they came into BTC 20 with a combined 0-7 record, as Nigel was 0-3 and Noah was 0-4, and they were both in action. Nigel was the first one of them, and he really kick-started this amazing night for the Crosswell brothers when he needed Jose Gonzalez Hernandez and was able to finish him with some ground and pound at 1 minute 59 of the very first round to give the Crosswell brothers their first pro MMA win ever. And honestly, we kind of thought that this was going to be it for that night, because Noah Crosswell was facing off against Liam Gallagher, who yes had a really bad outing against Karim Enyen, but was still seen as like one of the brightest prospects in the 135 division. And Noah Crosswell, we've never seen him that efficient. Like, Noah really showed some flashes in lots of his fights. Probably should have won the Gino fight. Showed some great stuff in the Indrup Verg fight. But yeah, it was just tough all around for Noah, who, like I said, showed some flashes, but was never able to put on a complete performance. And boy, did he do it in that fight. A very surprising performance, an amazing performance. He dominated Liam Gallagher on his way to a unanimous decision win, and 2 wins in one night for the Crosswell brothers. Probably an amazing moment for that family, and you gotta be happy for them, because they always show up to fight. They're always entertaining, and you just gotta respect people that don't quit on their goals. That yes, maybe they're 0-3, 0-4, but they know deep within that they're better than their records, that they're better than everything that they showed. And they were able to prove it that night. Great accomplishment. They get number 5 on my comeback fighters of the year list. At number 4, we've got the one and the only Matt Bednarek, who came into this year 0-2, had an amazing performance against Robert Protomani at Prospect Fighting Championships 15, but got submitted with a guillotine out of nowhere in the 3rd round to just lose this fight in one of the most heartbreaking fashions that you could ever see, and fall to 0-3. And at that point, I can't imagine how Matt Bednarek was feeling, but he didn't quit, came to Samurai MMA, beat the living shit out of Guillaume Poulain for a 1st round finish, and finally get on the board. But he wasn't done, because he then beat Sueb Damani at Samurai MMA 8, and few months later came back to BTC to win against Bilal Moutmayen, another unanimous decision. So basically, Matt Bednarek started the year 0-2. In March, he was 0-3, and now at the end of December, he's 3-3 with a 500 MMA record and a 3-1 year 2023. He has to be on the list. Matt Bednarek, what an amazing guy. At number 3, we've got another very obvious choice, Dany Mallette, who was, like some other fighters we've seen previously, absent for a little while, but he was absent for even longer than Isaac Blais and Theo Bouffard, as he last fought in 2018 at TKO 44. We hadn't seen him since, and if you knew, you kind of knew that he had some personal issues along the way. Like, it wasn't the easiest years of Dany Mallette's life between his fights, but he was able to get his motivation back, get back into shape, and get back into the cage, where he got out one of the performances of the year against Jordan Balmire, then fought Matthew Rusniak and beat him at Samurai MMA 6. A little more than 2 months after, he went on to fight Jonathan Ramsey for the title in an amazing and memorable 5-round contest that he unfortunately lost at the very end of the 5th round, losing the decision. But he bounced back a month later against Carlos Paida, absolutely messed him up in a few seconds, 25 seconds, to get to 3-1 in his comeback year, and then even went to do a pro boxing fight for New Era, which he won by first round KO too. So a combined 4-1 record this year in combat sports for Dany Mallette, who we hadn't seen for almost 5 full years before he got back into the cage. So that's the way you get back. Comeback fighter of the year, number 3, Dany Mallette. At number 2, we've got a guy who basically saved his UFC career this year, Kyle Nelson. And I'm just so happy for that guy, because he was a force to reckon with on the local Canadian MMA scene, and then he went on to the UFC and just had a tough time, even though he was putting on great performances. Like his 2 first fights, he could have won them, but then gassed out and lost them. Beat Polo Reyes by knockout, but then went on to lose 2 other very tough fights against Billy Q and Jai Herbert, and moved up weight class, went back to his initial weight class. He kind of seemed lost coming into 2023, and then gets a fight against Duo Choi, ends up in a majority draw. Kind of motivated him, not gonna lie, because he went on to have some amazing performances in his 2 next fights in Vancouver against Blake Builder, against Fernando Padilla later on in the year, and the year with a 2-0 with a draw record in 3 fights. So undefeated this year for a guy who was basically, let's just say it like it is, he was 1 fight away, 1 loss away from getting cut from the UFC basically, and he never had that loss this year. A draw, 2 wins, and now Kyle Nelson, I think, is very comfortably placed in the featherweight division of the UFC, and I'm not really worried for his future now that he's back on track with this comeback year in 2023, and that's why he's number 2 on our list. But come on, guys, if you follow Canadian MMA, you knew that this number 1 was a lock as soon as this guy put his foot into the cage. Win or loss, that would not be important, because Jamie Siraj went through everything a human can go through. He had some health issues. There was some points that basically the guy was wondering, am I gonna be alive or dead? And he was able to fight through this, fight back in shape, and then again had some setbacks, and then again had some cancellations, some new injuries. Even in this fight, he won, but it was tough, and he had to get surgery, I think, on his orbital or something like that after the fight. So nothing was gonna come easy for Jamie Siraj at all. But the guy is a fighter in his heart, and he was never gonna quit. And he was gonna do everything he could to continue living, to get back in shape, to get back to his passion, to fight in the cage, and he did it. And it's one of the most amazing, one of the greatest accomplishments we have seen in the history of Canadian mixed martial arts, in my opinion. And that's why he was a lock for number 1 comeback fighter of the year. That's his category forever. We should rename this category the Jamie Siraj comeback fighter of the year in the coming years. Congrats to him, amazing guy. It's one of the most inspiring story you're ever gonna hear in the world of mixed martial arts, and it's our own Canadian fighter Jamie Siraj's story. So congrats to him. All the props in the world. This guy is amazing, and he's a lock for number 1. He was always gonna be number 1 for that list, and it's not even close. So that concludes. Thanks for watching. Leave a like, a comment if you appreciated the video. Subscribe if you want to see what's next. We've got some other year-end lists coming your way very soon. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.